Good afternoon, all of you. My name is Anuj, and I am an educator. Let me start off with a small confession. I've been doing what I was being trained for from past 19 years. I've taught students how to crack the exams. I've taught them formulas, properties, algorithms. I've taught them shortcuts. I've taught them speed. I've taught them marks. My students made it to top universities, top companies. Parents are normally very happy with me. My institutions are really proud of me. From this, I can say that everything was going fine from outside. But one day, a normal thing happened with me. In fact, an abnormal thing happened with me. And it broke me from inside. It changed everything. One day, after a long class of 6 hours, one of my students, he stayed back. The boy was really good in studies. He was hardworking. He was studious. He looked at me and said, "Sir, I wanted to ask you one thing." I said, "Ask me, boy." He told me that he thinks that he is good with the marks, but not smart enough. And trust me, this thing really hit me hard. Harder than any failure ever could. Because I'm a teacher, I'm a born teacher. So I looked at the boy and wondered that this boy can solve 50 questions an hour, but he could not solve himself. So a very uncomfortable thought came to my mind. And the thought was that since my teaching career started, I've taught my students on how to solve the questions, but not how to ask them. And it was so disturbing that at night I went back home and I was standing in front of my Blackboard. So for the first time in 19 years, I wanted to erase it completely. So when I came to this TEDx talk, I wanted to unlearn a lot of things. So all of us, we all talk about learning, but we never talk about unlearning. Let me ask you one question. How many of you have come across these points during a student life? That do not make mistakes, follow the formula, there is only one correct answer, and marks will decide your future. Anyone? Anyone? Everyone. So many of us, I know that many of us, and so was I. And unintentionally, I also passed it to thousands of my students. Unlearning is very painful because it takes a lot of admittance. Because what may work for me may not work for anyone else. So once, over the years, I've realized education has taught us on what to think and not how to think. Education has trained us to chase ranks, not curiosity. Education has trained us for the fear of failures, but not how to use it. So what I can say is, unlearning came to me with a very difficult question. And the question was, is marks of prime importance? And trust me, this question shocked me off. Because for all these years, my entire identity was based on marks. And as all the growth comes with discomfort, this also had to come with a lot of discomfort. So once I unlearned, I had to evolve. So I stopped asking my students that how many questions did you get correct. In fact, I started asking them, where did you go wrong? And why did you get confused? And trust me, the real magic happened then. My classrooms were much more silent, but the minds were much more louder. My students, they started saying that, I don't know, but I will try. I got it wrong, but I have learned. Sir, can I ask a stupid question? And I always smile and tell them, there are no stupid questions, but the unasked ones. I realized that the purpose of education was not to deliver toppers, but better thinkers. The purpose of education was not to get more content or deliver more content, but better questions. In the era where Google knows everything, the skill is not memory, but it is judgment, accuracy, and adaptability. Let me share a story of two friends. Many of you must have come across the story in your life also. That there were two friends, A and B. A was really a successful candidate during his academic years, whereas B was an average performer. Obviously, we know that A will do something good in his life, which he must have done. What happened with B? 10 years later, B had a startup. He failed twice, he unlearned, he moved. Can you tell me what changed for B? Anyone who can tell me what changed for B? We learned how to learn from the tasks of life and just not books. So now comes the most important part, that is rewrite. All of us are living our stories, but many of us recite a script being given to us from the society, parents, teachers, and fears. We are always told that this is safe, this is secure, this is failure, this is success. What if I tell you that now it is your turn to rewrite your own story? Then, when a student writes his or her own story, he will only write the formula which is successful for him. Because when, for someone, it can be getting into IITs, IIMs, or Ivy Leagues. For someone, it can even be doing entrepreneurship. For someone, it can be doing arts. And someone, it can be self-confidence. All are valid. Because when a student rewrites his or her own story, he will only write it for the successful world. The purpose of education should not be to deliver toppers, but make the student realize that he or she can write his own success story. Because when a student writes his or her own success story, he will never say, what will people think? In fact, he will always say, what do I think? So let us rewrite three things. The first thing we should rewrite is the failure, because failure is not opposite of success, but it is a part of it. The second thing I believe that we should rewrite is intelligence, because intelligence is not speed, but it is anyone who can tell me? If it is not the speed, then what it should be? It should be a depth. And the third one is education. We need to rewrite education. Education is not preparation for life, but it is the life. Now, my message to all my fellow teachers, trainers, and parents is, remember this. A student may forget the formula, a student may forget the lesson, but he will never forget how you made him feel amongst himself. So we should always teach our students courage, curiosity, and confidence. And because the life will test his mindset and the exams will only test his memory. Coming back to the point from where I started, it was the point when I wanted to erase my blackboard. I did not erase it. In fact, I wrote a line on it. And the line said, you are much more than your marks. And trust me, it changed everything. It changed my classrooms, it changed my students, and honestly, it changed me. So today, I invite all of you to do three things in life. Unlearn whatever limits you, evolve with courage, and rewrite your own story. Because the tests being given to you by the life will not be evaluated by anyone else. So with this, I come to the end, and this is my definition for rewriting, evolving, and unlearning. Thank you.